Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. I'm Rick and this is Two Brothers Outdoors. We have been shut down for a week now. These mills have not been cranked up or sawn a single piece of lumber in a week. And the reason being is Tim is down with the flu. He's recovering finally. And you can hear that I'm congested myself. I don't believe I've had the flu. I think I just had a real bad cold. But either way, both of us been sick. We've been below zero at night on temperatures. The weather has not been conducive to going outside and at the same time being sick. All right, guys. Today we're going to discuss how we determine where our logs and lumber go as far as a sawmill goes, a business. We have what some people call a crafter's box. I like to call it the crafter's shed for reasons unknown to a lot of you. But at any rate, we keep hardwood slabs 4 foot to 2 foot long in this crafter's box. It's about an inch thick. It varies in widths. It can be anywhere from 8 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches to sometimes it gets up to like 16 inches wide. Crafters love these things. They use them for cutting boards, charcuterie boards, shelves, just all kinds of things. We put some of these pictures on our videos at the end of what things people build with our lumber. Okay, so I'm going to take you with me today, and I'm going to show you how we determine which direction we take a log in. And I'm going to answer probably one of the number one questions that's asked us almost, I'm going to say at least 4 times a week, maybe even 5 times a week. And I'll let you know what that question is in just a minute. And I will give you the answer to it. A lot of our customers find us through our YouTube channel. So with that being said, this might answer some questions for them as well. All right, guys, let's head up into the woods and break out the old tape measure and let's discuss trees. All right, guys, so before we go up in the woods and look at some trees, I just thought I'd bring you into our crafter's box here where we keep all the hardwood for customers. And all these pieces in here are just that. They're just crafters pieces. People will buy them, make things out of them, charcuterie boards. Got some nice ambrosia maple right here. This is black cherry. Look at this. Beautiful wood. But all these pieces that are in here make it to this box for a reason, and I'll explain that to you in a little bit. But our crafters come in. Yes, we could go through each one of these pieces of wood and grade them. Like this one's got a knot. This one's clear, but it's got 2 inches of sapwood on either side. We could come in here and grade these boards and we could list them at all different prices. But the reason we don't do that is because when a customer comes walking in here, we tell them everything in this box is this price. It doesn't matter if it's that odd little piece in the back or this beautiful board right here. They're all the same price. And you're probably thinking to yourself, that's not really fair. But it is fair because these crafters are not all looking for the same thing. They all got a project in mind. They've all got a certain thing in mind. So they're going to come over and they're going to choose what they want to see. And then they'll purchase it. Okay, so everything in here is the same price. We don't measure the board feet of it. We don't look at the grade of it. It goes in this box. It's all the same price. Okay? And a point I'd like to make is, with all the boards being the same price, a lot of times a crafter will come here looking for 2 or 3 boards, And knowing that all these boards are the same price, he'll end up buying 10, 15, sometimes 20 boards. Whew. All right, guys. It's really cold out here, so let's break down the anatomy of a tree. Let's break down the anatomy of a tree real quick, and I will show you how we decide where the logs go for the best value. All right, so we got a maple tree right here. This is a soft maple. That's a hard maple. The difference between the two, other than the species obviously, is soft maple usually have a big heart. Hard maple usually has a little heart. Okay, so in this tree, not this particular tree, but if I was looking at this tree for money value, the first thing I would do is I look at the first log. And the first log being 8, 10, maybe even 12 foot long. That first log is either going to be a prime saw log, or if you're real lucky, it's going to be a veneer log. A veneer log is the highest value log in a tree. But veneer logs have to be straight. Veneer logs, when you cut them down and you look at the end grain, you want a small, tight heart. You want the rings, the growth rings, all to be even. You don't want the heart off to one end and the growth rings on the other end, like the tree was growing in the shade of a mountain, and then it grows faster on one side than it does the other. You don't want any knots at all in a veneer log. If there was any knots in it, it won't qualify as a veneer log. Any disease, any ring shake, bird pecks they call it, where birds have been going after bugs. Any wounds in the tree. Now this tree has got a wound right here. That wound is almost healed up, but I'll guarantee you it goes all the way up to here. You can see there's an indentation in the tree all the way to this point right here. So this tree has definitely got a wound in it. All right, a veneer log, they don't want it any smaller than 12 inches, and they don't want it any larger than 30. All right, guys, real quickly, I wanted to show you a veneer quality log. You see that very small heart, and you see them very even growth rings around the edges of this log all the way to the heart. That's a veneer quality log right there. That log has no knots in it. It's over 12 inches in diameter. That would fit the description of a veneer log. Or, if nothing else, that is a #1 saw log. That is what you're going to get your finest lumber out of and your best boards. We'll get to that mostly asked question here in just a minute too. Just stick with me a little bit more. All right, so of course there's got to be a dead tree right next to it that I can't get my hand in here. All right, I'm just going to measure the diameter of this tree real quick. Now, seeing me standing next to this tree, what do you think the diameter of this tree is? See the tree? See me? What do you think the diameter is? Still got my thumb on where it was. Can't put my arms around this tree. If you guessed the diameter was 18 inches, you would have been correct. I bet you a lot of you thought that was a lot bigger tree than 18 inches. This hard maple, what do you think the diameter of that one is? See me? See the tree? The diameter on that one is 19 inches. Now don't get me wrong, these are really nice trees. And for being wild in the woods, pretty good sized trees too. All right, so let's get on with the discussion of the logs. So after you pass the first log, which will either be veneer or a good saw log, you have your next log up in the tree, the next section. If it's pretty knot free like these are, let me get this camera up here so you can see it. All right, so you can see this tree right here is pretty knot free. I don't see any knots in it till we get up to that crook right there. So you probably have, we already said that won't make a veneer tree. So you've already got 1, 2, 3 8-foot saw logs, maybe 4. I don't know how tall it is to that point. All right, that crook right there, that'll disqualify that log for being a saw log in that section. Now you get above that crook, you start getting into the top. You'll see the limbs, and if you could see this a little better, you can see there's knots in that. From that crook up, there's knots in that log. So where those crooks are, from where that crook is up, that's basically going to be firewood. Same way with this one right here. There's a wound in the bottom of the tree right there. That disqualifies it from being a veneer log. Now, this hard maple has also got, we walk around here, see it right here, you'll see that the log has got swoop in it. Swoop will take away from the diameter of the saw log. When they grade that log for a saw log, if it's got swoop in it, they'll deduct that swoop. And more severe the swoop is, the less grade it will be for a saw log. All right, and we go all the way up. This one's definitely only got maybe 2 good saw logs. I doubt a third, because you can start seeing knots and limbs right there. And then as you go up, same thing. And all that wood up there beyond that limb is basically firewood. But, and there's always a but, firewood is your lowest value of the logs. Firewood is the least paying. Nobody pays a lot for firewood. I'm talking about people that are going to cut this tree up and make firewood for you. They're going to get X amount of dollars per cord, but what they pay for per cordage for firewood is not very high at all. But those limbs up there and those logs that those limbs encompass, to us, that's boards with character. That's boards that are going to have edges that are not straight. Those are boards that are going to have knots or flaws or different coloration from the heart. That right there is what the crafters are looking for. Crafters are looking for boards with character. They want the flaws. They want the holes. They want the gaps. Nowadays with resins and rosins and stuff, if there's a rot hole in the center of a board, they knock that rot out of there and fill that in with a different color resin or epoxy, I guess you can call it. And that's what they're looking for. So that's how we can take the boards that we make out of these logs that are the lowest grade. We will take those logs and turn them into our crafters wood. And that's what the crafters are looking for. They want wood with character. So that brings the price of those, that brings the value of those logs up just a little bit for us. It brings the value up more than it would be for firewood. And I can tell you right now, sawing those into boards instead of bucking them up and splitting them into firewood, It's a lot easier for us. So we make a little bit more money. We make a little bit more money on those than even the firewood people would make. Okay, let's get to that number one question that we're asked 4 or 5 times a week. Now, I'm going to give you a hint right now. This question is usually the result of somebody either coming up here and walking into one of our many rustic bars or a picture they've seen on Facebook. All right, guys, I wanted to bring you up here to a part of our property that we do not go after trees. These trees are pretty old. This is a big oak tree. This will be here till after I die anyway. But the reason I brought you up here is because this is where some of our larger trees remain. This is a nice, healthy tree. It's a big tree. Now, I know you stuck with me here long enough. I'll tell you what the number one question is that we get when we're dealing with the public. And then I'll explain to you why we get that question. Actually, you know what? Look at these pictures. Okay? Now I'll explain to you what the question is. Do you have a slab 4 inches thick, 36 inches wide, and 8, 10, 12 foot, doesn't matter, long? Our answer to that question is always no. I like to tell them trees in the Northeast typically don't get that big. So this tree right here, I mean, compared to me, this is a pretty good sized tree. We're going to take the circumference tape measure here. That'll tell us the diameter on this. Okay. So this gives us the diameter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my thumb on that number. I'm going to show it to you. I want you to guess real quick what the diameter of this tree is. Now look at the size of this tree. Look at me. What do you think the diameter of this tree is? If you guessed 22 inches, you'd be correct. You would be surprised how many people look at this tree and say, oh, that's got a 4-foot diameter, easy. Not anybody that works with trees, but I'm talking about the public. They ride down the road, they see a tree like this. Oh, that's easy, 4-foot diameter. This being a 22-inch tree, I will get 2 slabs out of it. If I split the heart, I'll be able to get 2 slabs out of it, probably about 19, 20 inches wide without the bark. If they leave the bark on, 22 inches. 21 to 22 inches. But now that also encompasses the heart of the tree. And when you encompass the heart of the tree in a large slab, the next thing you're going to deal with is that heart is going to split. Almost 99% of the time, the heart will split. A lot of people that do bars and stuff with trees like this, they'll either put 2 pieces together and they'll butterfly the ends of the tree where the heart is to keep it from splitting. All right, let's go look at some more trees. Okay, guys, so up until this point, I've been mostly talking about hardwood. Some of these Adirondack bar tops that you see in these bars, they are, some of them 38 inches in 38 inches wide. This is the biggest pine that we have on our property. I should have probably nicknamed it Methuselah or something like that, but we just call it the big pine. I'm going to take the tape measure real quick. I've just about reached my threshold of what I can take in this cold for right now. But I'm going to run the tape measure around this tree, see what the diameter is. Why don't you guess what it is? I got a number in my mind. I'm going to say this is probably a 40-inch diameter. And 2 days later, I finally get around it. I went through 2 different zip codes. All right, guys. Did you guess the diameter of the tree? Got my thumb on it right there. What do you think this tree is? Look at the size of it now. Look at the size of this tree compared to me. What do you think the diameter of this big pine is? Are you ready? I guess 40. And it is 38. I was close. All right, guys, I've just about reached my threshold of what I can take with this cold, of this cold. So I'm going to get inside where it's warm. I appreciate you coming along with us today, or at least with me today. Tim's still recovering. I'm glad I didn't get the flu. All right, so if this helped you, great. If you got some questions, feel free to ask. If you got some comments, leave them down there in the comment section. You know I'll get back to you. All right, guys, thanks for coming along. Until the next one, we will catch you later. And hopefully we get this on pretty soon. And hopefully this cold goes away. All right, guys, catch you on the next one.